Hi, I'm Robin Salverson. I'm the SDSU Extension Cow-Calf Field Specialist at the Lemon Regional Extension Center, which is located in northwestern South Dakota. I'm very excited to be part of the cattlemen's conversation today, talking about the timing of insemination. It's kind of hard to think about the breeding season since most of us are in the middle of calving season, and if you're like me and live up in the northern Great Plains, we must really love our winters because we can't seem to let it go. We're actually expecting another blizzard here in the next couple days. But regardless if we have snow on the ground or not, spring is coming, summer is coming, and that also means the breeding season. If you have any actual questions into the future, I just wanted to mention that my contact information will be at the end of the presentation. So my question for you guys is, are females complicated? Whether that be a sow, a cow, a ewe, I'll even throw out a woman. Men that are watching this video, don't worry, it's not a trick question, and if you're shaking your head, you're not going to get into trouble, especially if you're shaking it yes, because that is true. Bulls pretty much perform on demand. We turn a bull out into the pasture and he starts performing for us. But with the cows, on the other hand, there's lots of knobs to turn, a lot of switches to switch, a lot of buttons to push, and probably need to pump her tail twice, or maybe even 3 times, before she's ready to breed. But since we can't eliminate the cow from the equation, and we only have 10 minutes, give or take, we are just going to focus on one area. Again, that's timing of insemination. So we're going to start this conversation out by looking at the equation of reproduction. There are 4 factors that make up the equation, and again, we're just going to focus on factor number 1, animals detected in heat and inseminated. The other 3 factors of inseminator efficiency, semen fertility level, and fertility level of the herd are all equally important for reproductive success. But again, during this visit, we are just going to focus on factor number 1, again, timing of insemination and heat detection. So I'm going to spend some time on this slide. So when we consider proper timing of insemination, we need to consider what is happening or the events that are happening during estrus and also fertilization. So if we look at the left-hand side of the screen, estrus are also known as standing heat, and that's when a cow allows a bull to be mounted. A cow allows a bull to mount her, and she stands to be ridden. Standing heat actually lasts about 12 to 18 hours. If we go to the left further down this timeline and go out to about 30 hours, we have ovulation. And all ovulation is actually the release of the egg from the ovary. There are several hormones that are responsible for ovulation, including GnRH, or gonadotropin-releasing hormone. And this is actually one of the synchronization hormones that we administer to cause ovulation of that dominant follicle. If we go up to oocyte viability, once that egg is released from that ovary, it lasts in the reproductive tract for about 6 to 10 hours. If we go up on to the fertilization side or the sperm side of things up on top, we know that once that sperm is either ejaculated into the cow's tract by the bull, or if we artificially inseminate her, that sperm lasts approximately 24 hours in the cow's reproductive tract. But before that sperm can actually penetrate in the egg, it has to go through a process called sperm capacitation. And simply put, sperm capacitation is just removing that cap off the sperm's head so it can actually penetrate that egg. So to ensure we have a viable egg present and sperm that actually can penetrate that egg, our rule of thumb is to actually AI 12 hours after we see her in standing heat. So That would be right here. You can see my mouse, hopefully. So that's the best time to AI, or if we go too early, we'll have a conversation about that. And then we can also, going too late is not a good thing. So as I said, 12 hours is kind of our rule of thumb, but really 12 hours is a compromise because we don't know exactly when that cow comes into heat or that heifer comes into heat. Many of you have heard the AM/PM rule. If we see a heifer or a cow in heat in the morning, we breed her that evening. So that's about 12 to 16 hours after we see her in standing heat. We know that's not always possible, and sometimes we go as early as 8 hours, sometimes late as 20 hours. But we always try to lean on the side of going earlier to breed her than later. We also know that accurate heat detection has influence on the time of insemination and fertilization. So if we see her in heat and we actually breed too early, so here on the left-hand side of this screen, you can see right here, if we breed her too early, we'll have that young egg, and remember that ovulation actually doesn't occur until about 30 hours after the beginning of standing heat. So that means she's actually ovulating out here on the further right-hand side of the screen. If she's ovulating out here and we're actually putting the sperm too early into her, that sperm, again, only has about 24 hours lifespan in that cow's reproductive tract. And so we're actually not going to have, we're going to have dead sperm by the time that egg actually ovulates. So we will have a low fertilization rate. If we come out and breed too late, over here on the right-hand side of the screen, we will see a high fertilization rate, but we're going to have low embryonic quality. Again, because the sperm, by the time, well, again, ovulation occurs about 30 hours out here. You can see this 27.6 hours. So if we breed right here, this arrow right here, and she ovulates out here at 30 hours, our sperm aren't going to, the sperm is not going to be able to actually penetrate that egg. And by the time that, I should say, by the time that sperm is actually able to penetrate that egg is actually going to be aged or old. And so then we end up with low embryonic quality. We also have to remember that when we AI, we only put about 20 to 40 million sperm in the cow's reproductive tract compared to 2 to 4 billion sperm that the bull ejaculates into the tract. And obviously the bull gets to mount several times, where when we AI, we have typically one opportunity. So we do need to be accurate in our timing of insemination. As I mentioned earlier on the other slide, on the previous slide, accurate heat detection is critical for reproductive success. A colleague of mine at Colorado State University, Eric Downing, did a project where he looked at the importance of accurate heat detection. So we had, this project included intense heat detection and casual heat detection and the effect on reproductive success. Intense heat detection, the cows were actually monitored by the heat watch system, which is an electronic system that recorded the number of mounts and also the duration of the amounts 24 hours a day. Since most ranchers will not have an electronic heat detection system such as heat watch or Eric actually equated intense heat detection to 3 times a day, 1 hour each time. So morning, early morning, mid-afternoon, and late into the evening for 1 hour each of those times. The casual observation, was 2 hours, 2 times a day, for only 30 minutes each of those times. You will notice if you choose to really focus on accurate heat detection, you will have increased synchronization, conception, and overall pregnancy rate because you are actually putting that semen into the reproductive tract at the optimal time. And many of you will actually obviously incorporate estrus synchronization into your program, whether that be a combination of estrus detection and timed insemination or just a strict timed insemination protocol. But it is very important that you follow those protocols all the way through to the time insemination. And I just want to point out a couple things right here. So if you go down to the fixed time day I, the protocol looks the same all the way through, except when it actually comes to timing of insemination. So if we look at the cow protocols on the left-hand side, after prostaglandin injection, we breed about 60 to 66 hours after the prostaglandin injection. On the heifers, we breed at 54 hours. The reason we breed sooner on those heifers is because we do know they ovulate sooner. So if you have any questions on which protocols is best for you and your operation, visit with someone like myself or Callan or anybody in reproduction, and we'd be glad to help you figure that out. Also, there is a really great program called the Estrus Synchronization Planner that can be found on the Iowa State University Beef Center that can actually help you map out or plan out your estrus synchronization protocols. But again, if you're breeding cows, follow the cow protocols, and if you're breeding heifers, make sure you use the heifer protocols. So let's just wrap things up going back to the equation of reproduction. If we manage our herd to the highest conception rate possible, that would be 100%. If we want to manage the highest conception rate possible, we'd want to obviously get 100%. And so that means 100% animals detected in heat, 100% inseminator efficiency, and down the line. But knowing that's almost impossible, let's say we strive for 90%. In all four of those factors in that equation, the very best conception rate we can get is 66%. If we decide to slack off in heat detection and timing of insemination and give ourselves 70%, only do 70% of the job, and only find 70% of the females in heat, and keep everything else at 90%, you will notice the very best conception rate we can get is 51%. And for most of us, that's probably not acceptable. You will notice that the four factors are not added together and divided by 4, but they're actually multiplied. And so to have a very successful successful conception rate, you really do need to focus on all 4 factors. With that, if you have any questions in the future, here's my contact information. I'd be glad to help you. You can also go to the SDSU Extension website, which is www.igrow.org, for more information on cattle reproduction. Thank you again, and I wish everyone a great day.
Awesome. I didn't get that one retimed, but I think it was a little bit shorter.
Okay. I think it is too. I felt like it was anyway.
You seemed more comfortable that time.
Oh, much more comfortable.
So awesome.